Even though you're delivering results, you're posting content, you feel like you're doing all the right things, but you still feel like you can't charge higher prices and you're not attracting the person that you actually want to attract. The truth is, it's not your offer, it's not your pricing, it's your branding. Branding is like the sword that cuts through the market. But the issue with that is no one really explains how to actually create a premium brand, especially with coaching or consulting offers. So today I'm going to show you the two-part system to actually understand what a brand is and how premium brands stand out to charge higher prices, attract their ideal clients, overall just run a more sustainable business as a result of their brand. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. First, I need you to understand that most coaches and consultants think the branding is just the logo or just the colors, but in reality, branding itself, the actual meaning of it, is building trust at scale. And when you have more trust, what happens is you've lower customer acquisition costs, you have better pricing power, you have more authority, and you have protection against saturation, which to me seems like the biggest no-brainer to actually learn how to implement. And when you have lower customer acquisition costs and you can charge higher prices and you have more authority, what happens is your business starts to become a lifestyle business instead of you feeling like you're running another 9 to 5 or restarting every single month. And I want you to think about this, especially when it comes to branding. When let's say you were looking for a CRM or a client management tool, did you research and look around for every specific CRM manager, or did you just research the top ones like Asana, Notion, and Airtable? Chances are you probably just looked at one of those three over the other options that don't have as powerful as a brand. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, well, how do I actually build this brand, build this asset that will allow my business to actually have leverage? So first, I want you to think about your brand as a tool that helps you weather the storm. And there's two misconceptions when it comes to brand. Like I said before, everyone thinks it's just a logo or just the colors, but in reality, your brand is broken up in two things. It's broken up into the actual brand and the brand identity. So your brand is the anchor. This is your brand positioning. And the way you do this is you ask yourself two questions. What are you anchored against? And what are you anchored toward? What is something that you're vehemently against, something that you see in the market that isn't right, doesn't sit right with you? For me, it's having a large sales team, managing sales calls, spending thousands of dollars on paid ads. And the thing that I'm anchored toward is longevity, sustainability, ethical service. So that's my personal anchor. And what I want you to do is ask yourself those two questions. What is something you're vehemently against? And what is something that you feel isn't talked about enough in the space that needs to be implemented? And the second part of this is your brand identity. So think about your brand as the anchor, thing that actually holds you in place. And the brand identity is the ship. This is what delivers your brand. This is how you package your brand. And that is when you come up with things like unique names or frameworks, proprietary mechanisms, visual identity, verbal style, recognizable design and packaging. This is where the actual brand aspect that you know and understand comes into play. But first, we need to understand the positioning of the thing that we're actually delivering. This is an example of brand identity. This exact framework of brand being an anchor and the identity being a ship. Now that you understand the actual concept and meaning of brand, I'll kind of want to explain to you or just help you understand a bit more why this actually works. By the way, there's an email course that goes over not only branding, not only positioning, but how to implement an entire infrastructure that makes your business lean, sustainable, and highly profitable entirely for free. So I want you to think of your brand as the foundation, what you believe in. Like I said before, there's something that you believe is extremely wrong with the market and something that you believe isn't talked about enough. That is your belief. That is your values. That is the belief system that you are instilling into your prospects. That is the foundation of everything you talk about, everything you do, and it's ingrained in your offer. Identity is, like I said before, the vehicle that actually delivers this message. And what your identity also does is it helps people recognize you in the space over time. A great way to understand this is that if you have positioning but you don't have packaging, like if you have brand but you don't have the identity behind it, you're invisible. If you have the brand identity and all this, but you don't have a clear message, then it's like an empty wrapper. There's no substance to your actual brand. So it's important that you understand that you need a brand positioning and a way to package that brand positioning. Great way to understand it is brand is your anchor, identity is your ship. Just because you have your brand positioning and you have a way to ship it doesn't mean that, we're done building the brand. The other thing we need to do is build associations and further build out our brand identity. And the reason for this is because your brand is memory architecture. People remember stories, systems, maxims, and names. And you want to wrap your information into one of these four things, or one of these 3 or 4 things. Because what that's going to do is allow people to actually remember you. For example, your prospect sees hundreds of ads and pieces of content every day, and the same people always end up standing out. Now, why might that be? Well, a great example of this is if I say athletic wear, the first brand you most likely think about is Nike. And that's because they use stories, wrap their products and their marketing in. Now, how do you actually do this for your consulting business? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to name everything. Every single approach you have, every single method you have, you need to name it. If you have a core framework or the main thing that you teach or implement, name it, make it proprietary. If you have a signature process, name it. If there's contrarian beliefs, create maxims around it. A great example is with me explaining branding is like anchoring. It's like you're in an ocean with thousands of other ships, and you have to find a way to anchor and weather the storm and stand out in that blue ocean. A great example of this is if I just said that I help you implement a sales ecosystem or a sales funnel, that wouldn't be as memorable. But if I tell you I implement an Evergreen infrastructure, which is my proprietary system, it's much easier to remember. The second thing we want to do to actually establish our brand identity is create visual consistency. So with my videos, I'm going for a specific look. With my emails, I'm going for a specific tone. With my Instagram reels, I'm planning on going for a specific visual approach. Everything needs to be cohesive and synchronized so that when someone sees it, no matter the platform, they know that it's you, that this is your account, this is your content, and then this is your offer. So a great way to do this is make sure the emails have the same format, make sure the videos have the same structure, make sure that your copywriting and your content across all platforms has the same tone and style. And the thing is that when people see it, you want them to know it. And the third thing to actually build your brand identity is building proprietary language. A great example of this, I said this before, is if I just said marketing funnels, you wouldn't memorize it. But if I said that I build evergreen infrastructures, it's much easier to remember. You know, if I said I'm going to help you refine your offer, that's not very memorable. But if I tell you I'm going to help you create your golden ticket, that is much more memorable. So wrapping everything and packaging everything is a great way to start establishing your brand. And the fourth way is to package your insights. And I know I said before that you have to name it, but this is actually how to properly name your insights or your frameworks or your proprietary systems. And a great way to do this is using metaphors, frameworks, or maxims. Metaphor is, you know what a metaphor is. It's the example I said before, the anchoring. Your brand is the anchor and your identity is the ship. That's a metaphor. A framework could be a 4-step process that's packaged into an acronym that's easy to remember. And a maxim is a phrase that is very memorable but gets the point across. A great example of a maxim that I want to share is this maxim from David Ogilvy, who is the father or grandfather of advertising. And he says that you are not marketing to a standing army, you are marketing to a moving parade. And essentially what that means is when you're advertising or you're marketing, you think that you're repeating yourself, but the issue is people don't listen to you. You have to keep repeating it. You have to keep sharing your message, keep sharing your perspective, because like I said, you are not marketing to a standing army, you are marketing to a moving parade. And once you start packaging all of your insights and your systems and your offers into metaphors, frameworks, or maxims, your branding starts to help you stand out. And these packages start acting as knives that cut through the market and actually help you stand out. Just to conclude and kind of wrap everything together, your branding is broken up into two things. Your brand, which is essentially what you stand for, and your identity, which is how you deliver that stance. And those together is what creates the branding for your consulting business. It should be cohesive for your entire infrastructure. And if you want a full guide to actually implement this, I have a Notion template down below where you could just go in and fill it out for yourself, go and get some clarity on your brand for your consulting business. And if you want help actually building your brand as well as actually feeding that infrastructure, there's a link below if you want to book a call to see if we'd be a good fit.